back, everybody. Today's video is the second part of the 800 watt air cooled VFD controlled spindle for the 4040. It will work on other CNCs, but I've got it for my 4040. My wife purchased it for me for Christmas. She asked me if I wanted anything. I said yes I do, and lo and behold, it came. I did a video on connecting it up and testing it, which you must do. You've got to test them when they come, make sure everything's working okay, which I did a video on that, showed it connected up. The only difference is I've changed from a 3-core cable now, which I use just for testing, to a 4-core because it's earth now, and tested that and it absolutely works spot on. Now I haven't put it on the machine yet. That is the third part of the video. I will be doing that. When it will be, I don't know. But yeah, and if you go back to the actual control boxes, if you look back on one of my previous videos, you find that I did a video on a 500 watt 110, I think it was, spindle. And if you look at that video, you'll see that I constructed, similar to this one, a separate control box for it. Now the control box, I feel, is quite an important part. It's my choice. I chose to do it this way for safety reasons and for the running of the power supply and everything that goes into the power supply and the control box. Some people put them on a board, and if you look at those, you look at the power supply in that actual video, you see it's like the standard one that comes. It's like a little oblong box with a lot of holes in, fan on it, and you have a power, and you have mains going in, and you've your spindle leads coming out, and you've a potentiometer to alter the speeds. That works great, and some people just put it to a board and have the wires go into the machine. I choose not to do that, because you've no control of the amount of dust that's going into that power supply. And if you think about all the dust that's created in your workshop, there's an awful lot of dust. It might be from paint, it might be from timber, it might be from resin you're machining. There's an awful lot of particles floating about in the air, and we protect as faces, or I do. I have an air-fed visor. But sometimes people forget about protecting the main things, the power supplies that's running some of the machines. Now all my machines in my workshop, I have actually put filters on them, so there's no dust gets in them because they're filtered. The only air that can come in through the fan on my main one is from if you open the door. And you go into it while it's running for some reason. I very rarely do that, but the rest of the time it's filtered. I've got filters on the fans. Okay, and if you look at that 500 watt power supply control box, you'll notice it has a fan on. Alright, and I can control the speed of that fan, because on a warm day you want the fan operating more, because they have an optimum temperature that everything runs at. So you might want, on a warm day, the fan on full, but on a cold day you might want it off. Well, you have the facility with that control box, and I've done the same with my control box on the 4040 on the side. That fan that's drawing air in is filtered, so there's no dust gets in, and I just change the filter. It's only like a white filter floss, and it works an absolute treat. I could take that cover off now, and I've done quite a bit of work with it, and it'll be virtually dust free inside there, because when you start getting dust on components, they don't cool down as quick, and you can cause overheating. The fans get dirt on them. Look, same as your computers. I blow mine out regular, and you want to see if you ever look at one, you want to see the particles of dust that they pick up. So I always say protect them. Okay, so right, so back to the VFD. You saw the VFD and you saw what what it does and how it works. I ain't going to go through that again, but what I'm going to show you is the control box that I've got in order to keep this dust free and what I consider running at an optimum temperature, or I can keep my eye on it anyway. If anything's overheating, it'll show me. All right, this is it. It's the same standard box, it's just a different format. This stands up, whereas the other one laid down. It was more of a squared one, and as you can see on here, and if you remember, the VFDs, most VFDs come with a flat ribbon cable, so you can use and a lot of people do, they'll put the VFD to a board. Now when I worked in the biscuit factory and maintenance, all our control panels with the VFDs in for various motors and that all had a filtered fan and an exhalation fan, so that where the air was drawn in was filtered, and then the hot air would be drawn out. Every one of the control boxes were filtered because we didn't have any exposed VFDs. They're all, obviously for safety reasons, they were all inside panels, and very rarely did we have any problems with VFDs overheating or having to go in and blow them out. So yeah, it proves it works. And of course these VFDs are the same. They're just a smaller one, and the control panel that actually you work the VFD with is detachable, as I showed you in that previous video, and that has a flat ribbon cable. It's quite long, so we used to have our VFD controls on the outside of the panel, so you could alter them to what you wanted without opening the panel, letting dust in. Now this is the same here. That's what I've done on here. I've actually taken the VFD control panel, popped it off the VFD unit itself, connected the flat ribbon cable, and I haven't seen one that hasn't come with that flat ribbon cable. And I've popped the housing for it that's secured into the faceplate, and then that's popped in. So now all I have there visible is the control panel for the VFD. That's inside the protected box. All right. Now it has you can see it on there, but it has a digital temperature gauge. Okay, so it'll tell me all the time what temperature is actually in that box without opening it up. All right, now this is for the fan, which is on the rear. This is a control fan, and this is actually secured. It's in when you buy this fan, because it's a 240 fan, you actually the control unit comes in like a block, and that's you can hear it switch on, and then you've got different speeds for it. You can control the speed, so I can control the temperature within this box. All right, and people say, oh, what do you need that for? It's got a fan at VFD. Yes, it has, but as I explained, if you leave it open to the elements in your workshop, it's going to get awfully dusty. All right, now this is the fan and the connections at the rear of the unit. All right, see if you can see that. Okay, that's the standard on off switch. Kettle connection. This is the standard 4 pin plug, which goes to the VFD. All right, so I can carry this around and the lead's not attached to the VFD. All right, now this is the fan unit. Okay, now this is magnetic. That sits on there. You can see the fan inside. All right, it's about I think it's around about 100mm fan, thereabouts. That is the actual filter floss that I use, and this is held on. It's 3D printed, and you can see the magnets that hold it in place. There's some studs, as you can see there, and that locates in the holes here. I'll see if I can show you a bit better. Let me do that. You can see the holes there where the studs go, and then the magnets, the receiver magnets are there, and then those are the magnets that are attached to that. Okay, so all I do is basically change that when I want to put some more filter floss in. Okay, so that's the fan unit. As you can see, it doesn't stick out that much, and I've got the fan on the back and the control for it on the front. Alright, now I'll show you inside. Now this is normally fastened with four screws, two either side at the bottom and two at the other side. Okay, this just slides off. Now you can see in there. In fact, what I'll do is I'll take you a bit closer so you can see inside, because the light's pretty poor here today. I've had a bulb go up top, so I do apologise for that. All right, so what I'll do is I'll try and show you in a bit better. Right, here we are. This is the VFD. Okay, remember there is where the panel, clip out panel, comes from. That comes out there, and you can see where the flat ribbon cable goes in, and you see that's they don't give you a long one and a short one, so it is what it is. I think there's about over a metre, just over a metre, and that plugs onto the back of the VFD there. All right, plugs on there, and then it plugs onto the control panel there. All right, now you can see what I mean by that block for the fan control unit. It's quite thick, and rather than take that apart, I didn't. What I did was I made a housing for it, and so that works from within there. You can see the connections for the actual 4-pin plug for the actual VFD motor. You can see that for the spindle, and then you can see the connections back in there. They're all taped up, all nice and neat. Right, that's the fan, and you can see that. Now this is one of the cable leads. This one here goes to the, and it's jumpered, is that one, from the power supply main switch there, and that goes round to the control unit for the fan. Then this one is the, obviously it reduces it down, and this goes to a plug-in DIN connector there. That, as you can see, that's just a plug-in connector. So that sits in there. So as you can see, it's all nice and neat. There is a fan round there, so round here. I will be creating a 3D printer that will clip in there on both sides, oblong, and it will just have some filter floss in, but it'll only have, it won't have two lots, it'll just have one single lot. That's just so that dust doesn't pass in when the machine's stood and not running, okay, because it will still entrain, dust will still get in even though there's nothing running, no fans or anything. It will still create an atmosphere when you're machining that dust will settle. It settles, well, you know yourself in a workshop how dust settles. Okay, so what happens here, this fan here is blowing air across all the components of the VFD. All right, this fan is pushing air from the outside in. Okay, this picks that air up, which is clean air, and takes it round the actual VFD in there. Because it's pressurized, is this unit, it won't allow air to come in, so, or dust, so it pushes the air, then receiving air back out of the vents on the side of the machine. So it keeps this relatively dust free. Alright, they're a simple case. They're about, I mean, I can put a link to them. They're about 30 quid, but I think I got this from Temu, and I waited a while for it coming, and I think I got it for about £17. So it was quite a reduction in cost. You can see the VFD is fastened to the feet by some spacer blocks here, which are 3D printed there, and it just lifts that up off the base, so that the air passing throughout this unit has some space as well to come out. Alright, although there is a backing on it, on the VFD, because you can clip these on a rail inside it's like a dovetail rail inside a panel, industrial wise, and you just clip them on and press a lug which is on the back of the unit here, or rather here. You just press it in. Once you've located it, and it locks it in place. But I am working on that lines. So yeah, they're fastened where the feet go, and then these are fastened by the VFD onto the spacers. So that's it, pretty simple. It works, and I'm going to show you it working, and I'll show you what it entails. Okay, first thing I will do is put this cover on, and then I'll secure that back in place. Don't over tighten these screws, because they're only going into like the plastic subframe of the box. Okay. As I say, it's everybody's choice. Some people, they'll just get on with it and put it on a board and use it. That's fine. But my choice is protect what you've got, because things like this aren't cheap and they need to last. Right, so you can carry that about. It's quite safe, nice and secure. Okay, so I'll put some power to it now. Right, here we are, one kettle lead. Pop that in, that's in. Get the VFD, just put in a bit of cloth so you can see that's the VFD, the 800 watt spindle. Okay, that's the VFD. I've done about a 2 meter cable, so it gives me choice to feed it round the machine or put this unit away from the machine. Alright, that just clips in there and screws on. Alright, so now we've connected that up, turn round to here, okay, and we switch on. That switch will light up. If VFD is illuminating, the fan is off. Okay, so I can put the fan on. You can hear the fan, and you can feel actual that's pressurized inside. Okay, but the air is filtered that's going in, so that's nice. So as I say, I will have a magnetic filter on either side, so stop residual dust collecting back in when the machine stood still. Okay, there's an illumination light there. I don't know whether you can see that, but a little blue light there, and that's telling me that I've got the fan on. Okay, now switch the VFD on. That's up at its maximum. Okay. Quiet really compared to the router types and even the 500 watt spindle. And you can see that. So I can have it running at whatever I want it running at. There, the spindle is off. Okay, that'll keep illuminating as long as there's power to the VFD, not the switch off. And as the residual energy inside the VFD sort of decreases away, it'll switch off. There you go. You can hear a click and the VFD is dead now because the mains power switch is off at the rear. Alright, so that's it in a nutshell. That's how I choose to run the 800 watt or 0.8 kilowatts air cooled VFD spindle. It's not something I'm telling everybody to do because it's everybody's choice. I'm just showing you what I feel is a safer and better way of doing it than having just your VFD fastened to a board, cables in and then running to your machine. It's not how I like to do it, but it's only my choice. The next video I'm going to do is I'm going to show you this working on the machine. It won't be yet because, as you're aware, from just getting over the prostate being removed, so I'm still taking things step by step, a day at a time, and I'm recovering really well. So I'm not pushing my luck with it. So when I get a chance, I will be doing that video. So watch out for it, and don't forget, look out, ring that notification. And wait for this part 3 coming of the VFD and the 800 watt air cooled spindle. We'll see how it performs. I'm sure it'll perform extremely good. I have no worries about that. And on my Pro machine I've got the 1.5 kilowatt water cooled spindle, and that is, I've had that running for hours and it never falters. And you can tell the difference from the 500 watt spindle, and you can, because of lack of vibrations, there's very little vibrations on this. Yes, it's heavier, and I won't go above, as I said in the previous video, I won't go above 800 watts because the weight increases as well. And if you look at the construction of my 4040, it's not the upgraded version. You put more weight on that, it's more weight for the stepper motors, and they aren't that large, so it's more for them to move up and down, and it's obviously more for the gantry, because if you put weight on the front that's here, that's what you'll get. So I feel that the 800 watt is about the maximum that you really want to use weight wise. I mean, if you could get one that weighs the same as this and a 1.5 kilowatt, then yeah, it's and I chose not to overload that X-axis gantry. All right, so that's the ending of this video. So as I always say, like and subscribe, ring that notification. Please subscribe, because it doesn't cost anything, but it does help my channel. And I like to see the numbers going up. It's very slow at the moment, but hey, it's nature of the game. And as I always say at the end of every video, you be safe, you be careful, and until next time, bye for now. Bye.